Resilience, focus, discipline, courage. Some of the key ingredients in manifesting your vision into a reality. Join me as we delve into what it takes to make your mark.
Hello and welcome back to the Make Your Mark Talk Show. My name is Vanessa Spence. Just in case you forgot, remember to follow us on Instagram at makeyourmark.ca and log on every week for new content on www.makeyourmark.ca. Today we have a very special guest in with us. We have Camille Dundas, the co-founder of By Blacks. She is a consultant with one of the largest social media productivity companies, Hootsuite. And most important to me is that she does it all with a husband and 2 kids. So welcome, Camille.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You look wonderful today.
Thank you.
I love that yellow.
Thanks.
I wanted to get into your backstory.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of you coming into this new country and seeing this new culture. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, I have a bit of a unique journey to Canada. My family immigrated from Trinidad when I was 4, and we came to Toronto. Big up to all my Trinidadians.
Yeah, big ass.
And then I stayed in Toronto from age 4 to 12. And then my dad, who is actually from St. Lucia, moved us all to St. Lucia at age 12.
Wow.
And then I stayed in St. Lucia till age 21. So I did all my high school, kind of all my formative years in St. Lucia. So it was a situation of 2 culture shocks. So the first culture shock was when I got off the plane at 4 years old and felt that cold biting at my cheeks. And then
It's the worst that you have to come in the winter.
I know. And then, of course, I adapted as any kid would, but it was an interesting journey because, there was a recession in Trinidad. That's why my parents decided to leave and come to Canada for a better life, as so many of our parents have done. My dad was a civil engineer, very successful in Trinidad, and then came here, couldn't get his qualifications converted very easily, spent a lot of years driving a cab, installing doors, anything you could think of.
We find that to be the story a lot, we're so overqualified for any job here. We do great stuff back in our home countries, but when we come here, it's like, what do we do? You know what I mean? How do you feel that experience has kind of set us back in some ways?
Yeah, I think that it's especially rough on, it's easy for us to see the financial setback, but I think even one of the greater impacts is the psychological and emotional impact that it has on you. And as a child, I wasn't aware of that. And the story that my dad tells over and over is, when I was maybe 8 or 9 or something, I was in track and field, and I asked my dad to come to my race, and he came, he showed up, and I think I was 110th out of how many kids. I was totally gassed out, right? So anyway, he was comforting me, and we sat under this bridge. And we're sitting there, and he's talking to me, and it's okay. And he was telling me, hey, you know what? Back in Trinidad, I used to design bridges like these. And I laughed in his face. I literally laughed. I'm like, Dad, because he was a joker, right? Always pranking. I'm like, oh, Dad, whatever. You never did that. And he told me later, how much that broke him. That moment completely broke him in half. And he was like, man, I'm no one, I'm nothing, even to my own kid,
Oh, God.
And, at the time, you're just a kid, you don't know. But I think back on that and think of maybe some of the other moments that may have broken him, and the collection of those types of moments, what that does to somebody, that's the part we don't see.
Right, but it's the part that we feel, and it moves with us even into the next generations, because for me, you see how hard your parents work. Yeah. And even though my mother, she was the firstborn in Canada, and she she's so prideful about that.
Yes.
But even seeing my grandmother and how her experience has informed my mother's experience, how my mother's experience has informed my experience, and I'm still being affected by those choices, those decisions. Yeah. So how do you kind of continue to move forward? Yep. In strength.
Yes. So the first step is in realizing how you've been affected. So what I realized and appreciated and healed from was that instead of looking back and thinking about what my parents didn't give me, I looked at what I did get from the situation. The major effect, I think, from growing up that way is that you are in a constant state of survival. And so there was no teaching us about, entrepreneurship, about, investing in yourself, about, self-improvement, that type of thing, right? It was just survive, like get that job that is gonna pay your bills and just survive. And while that may sound, stressful, and it was, being able to survive is a huge skill, right? And so because of that experience, I'm able to go anywhere and pick up and keep going. So that's something positive I got out of that. Now moving forward, I can look at my own kids and say, okay, I am gonna teach you how to thrive. You have all your survival, needs met. And so now
I gave that to you.
Exactly, right? And now you're gonna know how to innovate and how to like create and how to, get the things that really make you happy. And it really just clicked in my mind, maybe 2 years ago, when I started to get even more of an entrepreneurial bug. And I was, sitting with my husband, I had all these ideas, and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I reflected, and I was like, you know what? I feel financially secure. And that's why the creative window in my brain has just exploded, because I suddenly feel financially secure. And so, I started to see the exact correlation between financial security and creativity. Whereas we kind of expect people to just be creative, right? Oh yeah, you're a creative, okay, go and create things.
Right.
But we don't see how much your financial security is connected to that and sometimes dependent on that.
Right.
Because if you don't feel secure in what you have, you're not gonna feel secure to go out and create something new, something different, and just like, oh yeah, I can start that business, sure, let's do it now. You're not gonna do that if you don't have security.
Yeah, that's a great correlation. The correlation between money and freedom, money and creativity, you know? So what you're, I guess, basically kind of saying is, when you're surviving, your mind has kind of shrunk into this pigeonhole thing. 100%. You're not able to actually explore the other 90% of what the world has given you.
Yeah, and I think it's so dangerous, the hustle mentality that we see on social media, etc. And this demand that we have of people to be entrepreneurial and do this and do that. Yeah, one of my mantras is own your own shit. Absolutely, right? But don't look down on people who have to survive, right? Because you were once there. Or if you weren't there, you had a parent or somebody else who made it financially secure for you to want to go out and have all these different hustles.
But you know what I see a lot of? And I was having this conversation like maybe last week, but we were talking about how we want to help people who are only able to see until tomorrow. Yeah. People who can see, back 5-10 years from now. Sure. We want to help people who can only see tomorrow. But sometimes we get stuck in trying to help, we get stuck in their cycle. You know what I mean? Like we feel bad. Yeah. We feel bad being better. Okay. So we kind of give ourselves less to make them feel better. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And you can't ever do that. You can't ever dim your own light to make someone else feel shiny. You know what I mean? But you want to help them. Absolutely. Yeah. And I say, the best thing that I can do to help anyone is to be an example. And so I invest in myself. I work on myself, on our businesses. I try to, build as much as I can so that anyone looking on can say, okay, if she did it, then I can do it too. And to be completely transparent about where I came from.
And I think, that's very important too, because even for me, like when I think back, it's hard for a lot of people to reflect on where they've been. Sure. Right? Because they don't know where they've been. Yeah. So the decisions that they make don't really correlate with their future or their past. So I think it's very important for that self-reflection piece to come in. Yes. And to say, okay, where was I this time last year? Yeah. Where am I today? Where can I be this time next year?
Yeah. I can't help myself because I'm a naturally reflective person. And so, when I'm sitting in a room, I literally have to take 5 minutes sometimes to be like, wow, how did I get to this place? Because I can easily jump from one group to another and fit in anywhere because I am myself anywhere I go.
Right. I love that. I love how we're kind of now transitioning into the piece of telling your own story. Yes. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Sure. But we will be right back, and thanks for watching.
From a tender age, I recognized that I was not the average girl. I was always opinionated, outspoken, and for the most part, unapologetic. I was born to lead, to inflict positive change, to serve. I was born a leader. Harnessing this internal drive led me to spearheading several businesses while unlocking potential within large organizations in director roles throughout the city. While on this quest, I discovered my love for people and passion for personal development. Throughout my career, I have mentored hundreds of individuals, both personally and professionally, channeling my belief of self-care and with an avid love for fitness. Daily, I nurture my mind, body, and soul, embracing the very act of self-love. I truly do believe that you cannot give what you don't have. With a commitment to living on purpose and within my purpose, my personal mantra is to leave better than I met.
Hello and welcome back to the Make Your Mark Talk Show. We are here with Camille Dundas, and just before the break, we were talking about storytelling. Telling your story is staying true to that story. I know the work that you do with Hootsuite is kind of capitalizing on the storytelling piece in social media.
Yeah.
And you call yourself, I saw on one of your things, your title was a social storyteller.
Yeah.
So explain what that is to everybody.
Yeah, so I came up with that title when I transitioned from mainstream media to social media. And I'm a storyteller, trained storyteller through writing news stories for 10 years for television news. And then transitioning into social media, I realized that I was doing a lot of my storytelling on social. And so social storyteller just seemed like the best fit because I talk a lot about, not only about the mechanics of storytelling, but about the importance of owning your own story for your personal brand.
So what are like the most important pieces of telling your story on social media?
Yeah. Well, number one, tapping into your vulnerability. And
big word.
Yes.
Big word.
Yeah. And
my.
I actually find that, while women may be perceived as to be the more sensitive sex, we are actually the less likely to want to be vulnerable online because we are so conscious of wanting to like stack up against like the man that we're competing against or anybody else that we're very very often very closed with our personal stories. And so there is only so far that we're willing to go. And what I try to help women uncover is that tapping into that very thing you're scared of is what is going to draw people to you and make you more personable and advance your career.
But how do you tell someone to do that though?
Yeah.
Like how do you just say, you know what, you see that little piece inside of you that you don't like about yourself?
Yeah.
How do you share that with the world?
Well, in the workshops that I do, I have an exercise where I ask people to tell me about something that brought them a great deal of pain. And then I also ask them to tell me what they learned from that. And we write it down and then they share it with the group if they want to. I also talk to them about baggage. And I have a part in my workshops where it's called Girl Check Your Bag. And when I say that, I say take that bag and literally throw it onto the turnstile because the baggage that we're carrying around is that fear, that insecurity, that one thing that happened to you that you are processing everything and everyone through. And that is what is holding you back from being truly authentic with other people because you're just screening everything through that. Right. And so I have them to write that one thing down. I say, we're gonna leave this in the room today. And I have a bag and they put it in the bag and I leave the bag in the room. So it does not happen overnight, but it is something that you do have to work on. I mean, I am a natural storyteller. That is the way I connect with people. I've been like that from I was a child. So some people just have that. But if you don't, it is something you have to actively work on. It's a muscle, a vulnerability muscle that you have that doesn't send you into a panic and shock when you're revealing something about yourself. Yeah.
So, well then for me, what is your definition of vulnerability? Yeah.
I think it is feeling comfortable to let someone in. That really is all it is. Okay. And it requires a couple of things, a great deal of self-awareness and confidence and healing. Because a hurt person can't let someone in.
Right.
And a hurt person will see a question that you ask them or a compliment even that you give them as something negative. And so you have to be healed from any of the traumas that you have been through in order for you to share them.
Nice. So I know in your time, you have obviously met a lot of great women who have helped you. And I know one of the vulnerability pieces, especially with women, especially with women of color, is that we are afraid, or we have that wall with our own, with people who look just like us.
Absolutely.
Where do you think that stems from?
Yeah, well, we could talk about that all day. And I wouldn't want to pontificate on the various psychological factors, historical factors that play into that. There are many. That doesn't matter. It matters that we've identified it and what can we do about it. Right. And so, I was, fortunate to have a lot of women be responsible for the advancement of my career. Not in the sense that I sought them out. I didn't intentionally look for other women to help me. I showed up. I did the work, and I proved myself as somebody that they would want to help. I proved myself as somebody that was authentic and willing to share my experiences to let them know that they can see themselves in me somehow.
Wow.
I've gotten a lot of my mentors say, you remind me of myself. So they saw something in me that they wanted to connect to. And so whenever I hear people talk about women don't support other women, I said that has not been my experience. Not only black women have shown up for me, and women of other colors. So it's really just about being open to receiving other people's wisdom and other people's help. That just being open to it is the first step. A lot of young women are again afraid of being vulnerable, afraid of we're at an age where we think we know everything, and I had to drop that. I had to drop my ego, my thinking like, okay, I'm great, I can do it, let me get to the next level, like promote me to that. No. You have to do the small things well first, and people will trust you with bigger things. That is how you grow.
Okay, so that would kind of fall into showing up, because I was going to ask, like, what entails showing up, because a lot of people just think it's, oh, I'm here and I'm doing this. Why can't you see that I'm capable of doing more? But what, what does showing up, what is everything that involves showing up?
Everything that's involved is an equal dose of confidence and humility. And so when I say humility, I mean coming in knowing that you don't know everything. And there are things you shouldn't be afraid to do that you perceive as beneath your skill level. When I look back on my career, the things that I was getting annoyed at, the tasks I was getting annoyed at having to do, all of those tasks prepared me for the next role. Like when I got into the next role and started realizing what it is that I had to do, I'm like, oh, that thing is the reason why I can do this so easily. My superpower is in condensing complex theories or complex, topics and breaking them down into very easily digestible stories. And I didn't get that overnight. I got that from 10 years of reading a 3-page press release or a 5-page article and having to condense it into 30 seconds of script. I did that over and over and over and over for 10 years, right?
Wow.
And so that's why I can very easily ask you a question or ask you 5 questions and summarize it right afterwards. And people are in awe of that ability. Like, whoa, how do you do that? I'm like, well, it's just, now it just comes naturally, but it's because I did it so many times over and over. But I could have been annoyed by that process. Sometimes, it got laborious and tedious, but it has informed, my superpower now.
So what can you say to these young professionals who are in that position where they have these laborious tasks that they just want to say, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. What can I do other than this? How do you help them kind of push through that mindset?
Just realize that there is a bigger picture. And, think of yourself as somebody who is gathering skills. And you're gathering skills your whole life, but each time you gather, it's going to make you stronger for the next level that you want to go to. And remember that, the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit.
Ooh.
So you have to remember that, okay? You have to remember that.
That was a great little thing. We are going to take another quick break, but we will be right back. Hello, and we are back with Camille Dundas. We were just talking about planting seeds, and I think that's a great little segue into By Blacks. So how was planting that By Black seed?
Yeah, so By Black started when, out of an idea my husband had, who was doing a lot of promo for his clients. He was in PR, and he was going around to a lot of Black businesses in Toronto promoting events and realizing that many of them didn't even have websites. He was like, okay, how can we create a platform where we can help promote Black businesses across Canada? So By Black started as a business directory. It still is, but that's how it began. And a friend of ours looked at it and he was like, you know what? You need to give people a reason to come back to this website. Why don't you tell stories about those businesses? And with my journalistic background, it only made sense that I took over that side of it. So I was like, okay, Roger, I got this part. So he's a publisher. He deals with the business aspect. So our businesses run through on ads. People who want to advertise to the community, that is the business model. And then I deal with the editorial side. So I take care of all the writers and contributors and experts. So we are in business almost 7 or 8 years now. We've had over 150 people contribute to the website over those number of years.
Awesome. So I want to get into how it is to be not in business, but to run a business with your partner.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't know how to separate the two, whether it's business or whether
We're
it's
still working
pleasure.
on that. So we have multiple businesses together, not just one. And just last night, I think it was about 10 o'clock at night, and Roger said to me, we really need to go back to implementing, the 8 o'clock rule, where we don't talk about business after 8 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. But it's very difficult because there are so many things happening at once. We work together, but we hardly see each other during a work day, mainly because I cannot work beside him. So he's a house music head and has music on all throughout the day, and I can't deal with it. So
you know what? I'm like, I do that with soca music. People are like, how do you write through
right?
How do you do
so
it?
we work in separate parts of the house, and we literally see each other around lunchtime if I'm working from home that day. And so it's very difficult because there's many things that I'm kind of like keeping in my head to tell him. And it's literally when we lay down on the pillow, I'm like, oh, did you? And I start like rambling off, and he's like, no. So you have to be super conscious about it, and also conscious about when you're spending time together, celebrating your anniversary or going on a date, that we often fall into a business discussion,
right?
Because we're both passionate about it, but you have to be conscious about it.
You have to like you do set boundaries for yourself, but even then it's hard to stay stuck to the boundaries that you set for yourself because you set them. So,
yeah, exactly. I know, exactly.
I can break that.
Yeah, I know.
Getting into telling Black stories.
Yeah.
How have you found fulfillment in that?
It is the thing that brings me the most joy, because we started that side of the business, the editorial side. Yes, off some great advice, but it was me having a front row seat to working in the media, mainstream media at that time. Front row seat to how our community is portrayed in mainstream news, and we are either criminal or we are the exception. And there's a whole bunch of excellence in between there. I see Black Canadian excellence all around me every day. That is my experience, and that is the experience of many people that I know. And there was nowhere reflecting that experience. And so we wanted to create a space where you can come and see positive reflections of yourself in your community. And so every time I think that we're gonna run out of stories, we find another amazing person who's starting a really cool business or a really great initiative, a nonprofit. We feature everything from dancers, artists. We do a lot of entertainment, like covering Black films and plays, books, music. So it brings me endless joy to see a new article go up every other day or so.
And what is the importance of telling these Black stories?
Yeah, it is absolutely important, because just the reason why storytelling is important, because the storytellers rule the world. The people who are in charge of the narrative are the ones who will be remembered. And the way that we will be remembered is up to us. And so if there's no one telling our true stories, giving a true reflection of ourselves, then somebody else is doing it for us, and we don't want that.
Wow. Wow. So is there anything that's next for By Blacks? Like, what do you guys
Yeah.
dream it up.
Yeah. So, well, last year we started for the first time the National People's Choice Awards, and it was wildly successful. People got a chance to vote for their favorite business, their favorite artist, in 50 different categories across Canada. We're doing that again this year, and we're adding new categories. So we're expanding to get more people involved. It's really cool because it's voted by the people. So you can go out and say you've been voted the best, Black hairdresser or Black insurance agent, anything like that. So we're super excited about that.
Do you think there is any danger in separating ourselves?
That's an interesting question because given the name of our company, it tells you exactly what it's about very easily. And we've gotten criticism from both in the community and outside the community of people telling us to change the name of our company to make it more palatable or more, comfortable for people to digest. And, that's fine if they feel that way. But the importance of spaces for us is really, in my opinion, linked to our healing and our mental health. And I think that in an ideal world, we would all hold hands and sing Kumbaya and run off into the sunset. But we are not there yet. And, until, we can have a truly inclusive society where everyone does understand where the other person is coming from and has room for everyone else's experiences, it is very important for us still to preserve our stories and make sure that we are owning the narrative of our community, because for too long we have just been subjects.
Right.
We were subjects on a plantation, then we were subjects in the media system where we are just being talked about, right? And we need to do the talking for ourselves, for our children, so that they can see, the excellence that they have come from, that they can then continue for their own children.
Wow. Beautiful. We're going to take another break.
Sure.
You are just giving me so much. We will see you guys in a little bit.
It took a lot to get to this place, to feel comfortable to wear my own hair. It took a lot of reflection and coaching and support from the team here, and of course my family. I know my husband really was looking forward to this experience of me exposing my hair, but I was afraid. I won't lie, I was afraid. I didn't know how it would come out. I had been so used to wearing units that I couldn't imagine myself exposed with such a short cut. My jawline and everything just kind of out there, but all in all, I have to say it was definitely a freeing experience, and I'm so grateful for it. And I definitely would recommend it to anyone who has that self-doubt or that unsurety about exposing natural hair. I definitely would take that chance.
Hello, and we are back with Camille. In the last segment, we were talking about, the writing and how we need to tell our own stories, to own our own stories.
Yeah.
So that is putting your art in with activism.
Sure.
How do you fuse those two, and what's the importance of that?
Yeah, it's funny. I never really considered myself an activist per se. There are so many amazing people who are dedicating themselves to fighting for our community on the front lines, and they are the true activists of our community. I also believe, though, that everyone, the fight for our ongoing fight for liberation, I see it like in my head like a wheel, and a wheel has many different spokes, right? And one of those spokes could be, you're in BLM and you're protesting on the front streets. Another spoke could be you work in government and you're, advocating for us behind closed doors where we don't see. Another spoke is art, right? Another spoke is journalism. And so it's very important for all of us to see where can we find the activism in our everyday lives. No matter what it is that you're doing, how can you use your skill, your talent to advance our cause, right? To make people, or even just to make, to help your your peers see the excellence in themselves. Like, what can you do? And that's what I feel I do with By Blacks, and in terms of the articles that we have on there. Through my journalism, that's what I'm doing. I'm holding the positivity mirror up for all of us, right? And so, is it activism? I suppose it is, in a sense, because it's dedicated to one particular cause. I am dedicated to the cause of telling Black stories, so I suppose in that sense it is. And I would hope that it's having some type of impact, whether it's intra-community or outside of our community.
Wow. Girl, you got so many things going on. So you have the By Blacks, you have your work with Hootsuite, you have the family, you have your activism. How do you maintain a balance?
Yeah. I mean, I think that balance looks different for each person. I also question the self-care emphasis, because self-care also looks different for every person. My passion is my purpose. And so when I'm doing what I love, that is also self-care, because I am living my truth, my highest joy. And so when I'm literally editing an article, that is work, but I feel joy when I'm doing that. And so, while I was on this self-care journey, I was like, okay, well, you have to, reading all these articles, you have to completely unplug, you got to take a bubble bath. And after 7.5 minutes in the bathtub, I am bored out of my head. Okay, so I'm like, when is it over? When have I self-cared enough? And so instead of trying to compartmentalize these things, I have tried now to find the joy in and healing in every single aspect of my life. Yes, do I consciously try to shut off? 100%. I do that, especially when we're celebrating something, it's a special occasion, or we're going somewhere on an actual vacation. I do try to completely decompress from work, but I'd be lying if I told you that a part of my brain isn't always on, thinking about, how can we cover this story differently? Who can we get to do this? Like, what is the next, issue we're going to deal with on By Blacks? Like, because I am living, my joy, my actual purpose, it is always there. I can't turn that off, and I don't want to.
So what does that feeling feel like inside of you when you are actually walking in your actual purpose? Because some people, like, they see someone in their purpose and they're like, oh, I want to feel like that.
Sure.
But they don't know how it feels in themselves. So how do you know that?
How do you identify that? Yes. I always say it's a feeling of excitement, but it's the thing you're doing that you don't notice you're doing for hours on end, or that you don't mind doing for hours on end. I realized it when I was in journalism school and we got into film editing, and I was making documentaries, and I was in the editing studio and I looked at my phone and 6 hours had gone by. And I had missed calls from a boyfriend, and I was like, not bothered. Yeah. Like, I didn't even realize how much time had gone by, because I loved building those stories and like putting the visuals together and then seeing something come out of it. That was my ultimate joy. Yeah. And I could do that for hours on end. So if you find something that you can do, for several hours without getting annoyed, that is probably your passion.
Yeah. So even though you are walking in your passion and all that jazz, was there ever a time where you just said, I'm done.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore?
Oh, 100%. I even have those moments with By Blacks. And, I'll give props to my husband. He has always been the most consistent between the two of us. He is consistently dedicated to whatever he puts his mind to. There are many moments I've been discouraged because of feedback we've gotten or, different comments, etc., that we get. And I'm like, let's just shut this down. I'm done, or because of how much time it takes. Right. And you realize, okay, I don't have a normal life. I don't have a 9 to 5 where I can just come on and shut this off. Right. It is all life consuming. There were times also when, like in 2008, when I got, laid off, I guess, from the CBC. Was my first job in Ottawa. I say laid off because I wasn't permanently employed there. Work just stopped happening in 2008. And I came to Toronto, had to start all over again as an unpaid intern at City TV for 8 months, mind you. Wow. And was paying my rent on my credit card, working, online, teaching English to people in Saudi Arabia from midnight to 3 a.m. and then sleep for a little bit, wake up, go to the internship, then come home and then try to shoot my demo reel with my friends who were videographers. And after about 9 months of that, I said, okay, I'm done. And I applied to go teach in South Korea. And I went through with the paperwork, got accepted, everything. And I met my husband that same week, and I never went.
Wow. So you would say that, yes, since he's more consistent, you would say that he was kind of the one to tell you to keep going.
Oh, absolutely. He always does. He's like, no, we're not shutting it down. Even if I wanted to, he's like, no. So, we definitely are a good yin and yang because, he is just a rock. He is a damn rock and he's immovable, right?
Yeah.
And so I do feel the pressures that come with having multiple businesses and 2 children. I'm sure he feels it too. But, he is there to say, hey, there's a bigger picture, Cam. We're working towards something. We can't just drop everything that we've worked for. I also get encouraged when I go out to events in the community and people are like, oh, you're behind By Blacks. They don't know who it is. And they finally meet me and they just light up and they're like, oh, I have my notification set for that on Facebook. I follow you. And I love this. And I'm like, okay, all right. People are reading it.
Yeah. So that's kind of, okay, that's what pushes you forward that.
Oh, yeah.
But, would you say that you set out to do it for the accolade?
Oh, not at all. I honestly didn't think that when we started it, in year 1 to where we are now in year 7, having received 2 National Ethic Media Awards, having received a certificate from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, is nothing I ever imagined at all. Like, we were just trying to start this directory, help out black businesses, make a little money, and create some stories because I love doing journalism. We actually never thought it would get. Maybe Roger would have a different answer. He'd be like, "Of course, I knew it would be great."
So, one sentence for those people who have their family, have their career, have the things that they want to do on the side.
Yeah.
What is one sentence you can tell them to keep going?
Yeah. Think about your legacy. At any time you're discouraged, think about your legacy.
Wow. So, okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Camille, for talking with me today, being here today. Do you have anywhere where our audience can find you?
Absolutely. You can Google me. You can find me everywhere, Twitter, LinkedIn. By Blacks is BYBLACKS.com. And I do respond to my DMs. So don't call me though. But yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere, Instagram, I'm everywhere. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Camille.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next week.